What is ideology? An ideology is a set of ideas, beliefs and attitudes, consciously or unconsciously held, which reflects or shapes understandings or misconceptions of the social and political world. Formerly applied primarily to economic, political, or religious theories and policies, in a tradition going back to Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, more recent use of the term has been viewed as condemnatory. And it is important to note that ideology serves to recommend, justify, or endorse collective action aimed at preserving or changing political practices and institutions. The concept of ideology is split almost irreconcilably between two major senses. The first is pejorative, denoting particular, historically distorted political thought which reinforces certain relationships of domination, and in respect of which ideology functions as a critical unmasking concept. The second is a non-pejorative assertion about the different families of cultural symbols and ideas human beings employ in perceiving, comprehending, and evaluating social and political realities in general, often within a systemic framework. Those families perform significant mapping and integrating functions. A major division exists within this latter category. Some analysts claim that the study of ideology can be non-evaluative in establishing scientific facts about the way political beliefs reflect the social world and propel people to specific action within it. Others hold that ideology injects specific politically value-laden meanings into conceptualizations of the social world which are inevitably indeterminate, and is consequently a means of constructing rather than reflecting that world. This also applies to interpretations undertaken by the analysts of ideology themselves. The term ideology first made its appearance in French as idéologie at the time of the French Revolution, when it was introduced by a philosopher, LMCW2143, as a short name for what he called his science of ideas, which he claimed to have adapted from the epistemology of the philosophers John Locke and Étienne Benoît de Condillac, for whom all human knowledge was knowledge of ideas. The fact is, however, that he owed rather more to the English philosopher Francis Bacon, whom he revered no less than did the earlier French philosophers of the Enlightenment. It was Bacon who had proclaimed that the destiny of science was not only to enlarge human knowledge, but also to improve the life of men on earth, and it was this same union of the programmatic with the intellectual that distinguished Descartes' ideology from those theories, systems, or philosophies that were essentially explanatory. The science of ideas was a science with a mission. It aimed at serving people, even saving them, by ridding their minds of prejudice and preparing them for the sovereignty of reason. Thus, ideology has been from its inception a word with a marked emotive content, though Descartes presumably had intended it to be a dry, technical term. Such was his own passionate attachment to the science of ideas, and such was the high moral worth and purpose he assigned to it, that the word ideology was bound to possess for him a strongly laudatory character. And equally, when Napoleon linked the name of ideology with what he had come to regard as the most detestable elements in revolutionary thought, he invested the same word with all of his feelings of disapprobation and mistrust. Ideology was, from this time on, to play this double role of a term both laudatory and abusive not only in French, but also in German, English, Italian, and all the other languages of the world into which it was either translated or transliterated.
We will now explore two ideologies that have profoundly shaped our cultural, philosophical, and artistic perceptions, modernism and postmodernism. We will delve through their key concepts, influences, and representative figures. Modernism emerged from the Age of Enlightenment to the outbreak of World War I. It emphasized reason, science, and the pursuit of knowledge. This school of philosophy firmly believed that objective truth could be revealed through logic and the scientific method, thereby improving the human condition. Under modernism's influence, marked by Michel Foucault's analysis, there has been significant technological and governance progress. Modernism challenges tradition, values individualism, freedom, and equality, and promotes secularism and liberalism. It facilitated the shift from feudalism to capitalism, spurring industrialization, urbanization, and the rise of nation-states, enhancing democracy and public education, laying the groundwork for modernity. The following are representative figures of modernism. Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche was an important philosopher and writer in the late 19th century who developed the concept of God is dead, advocated the idea of the Übermensch, Superman, argued that man should create his own values autonomously, and advocated the concepts of eternal repetition and will to write. Franz Kafka. Kafka was a Czech writer known for his distinctive style of fantasy literature and anxiety about existence and loneliness as well as bureaucracy. His masterpieces, including The Metamorphosis and The Trial, explored the helplessness and absurdity of human existence and deeply reflected the state of mind of modernism. Pablo Picasso. As a Spanish painter and sculptor, Picasso is one of the most important representatives of modernist art. He subverted traditional concepts in the fields of painting and sculpture and created such important art schools as Cubism and abstraction. Turn to postmodernism, an ideology that sees truth and morality as culturally and personally relative. It questions the authority of science and technology, arguing that these often become instruments of control and power. Postmodernism promotes techniques of satire and parody in literature and art and encourages challenges to the coherence of texts and the stability of meaning in philosophy and criticism. It emphasizes the fluid and changing nature of culture and identity, with particular attention to the voices and rights of marginalized groups in society. The following are representative figures. Michel Foucault. Foucault's ideas have had a profound impact on post-structuralism and postmodernism. His theory reveals the complex relationship between knowledge, power. Jean-François Lyotard. Lyotard was a French philosopher who introduced the concept of postmodernity in his book The Postmodern Condition. He argued that postmodern societies should embrace diversity and complexity and abandon the search for a uniform mode of interpretation. Jacques Derrida. Derrida is the founder of deconstructionism, which has had a profound impact on postmodern philosophy and criticism. His deconstruction theory challenges the stability of the inherent meaning in the text, arguing that the meaning of the text is constantly postponed and transferred. Frederick Jameson. Jameson is a cultural theorist and literary critic who analyzes the characteristics of postmodern art and culture in his book Postmodernism, or the Cultural Logic of Late Capitalism. He argues that postmodernism is a form of cultural expression of late capitalism, characterized by a culture of mimicry and historical rupture. The contrast between modernism and postmodernism in philosophy and practice reveals their different interpretations and approaches to the world. Modernism tends to form a unified worldview, believing that reason and science are the key to solving problems. In contrast, postmodernism breaks with this unity and presents a more fragmented and pluralistic worldview that questions the absolute authority of reason and science. This contrast is reflected not only in theory but also in their practical application to society, culture, and politics.
Relativism holds that values and beliefs are relative, depending on individual or cultural background, and that there are no absolute standards or truths. Relativism emphasizes the diversity of ideas in different cultural contexts and holds that values and beliefs are related to specific social circumstances. For example, there may be differences in the understanding of morality, power, and freedom in different cultures. And relativism treats these differences as normal and opposes the imposition of one culture's values on others. Postmodern relativism is more concerned with the interplay between languages, power, and ideology. Postmodern relativists believe that language and power structures influence our understanding of truth and values, and even determine our perceptions and beliefs. This view emphasizes the importance of social power dynamics and the role of context. holds that truth is shaped by people at the top of society or from a particular cultural background. Traditions and religions often hold absolute values and beliefs that are not subject to personal or cultural relativity. For example, religious teachings often treat certain moral principles and beliefs as absolute. Unaffected by ethical or cultural differences, traditions and religions emphasize transcendent truths and universal values that are not limited by specific cultural or social circumstances and apply to all human beings. In addition, tradition and religion emphasize the importance of authority and tradition, which are essential for the establishment of social order and moral norms. Religious beliefs often rely on traditional teachings and the Bible for authority and guidance. Some traditional and religious views criticize the relativist view of postmodernism, arguing that it overemphasizes individualism and relativity, leading to confusion of moral standards and a weakening of social values. This criticism usually emphasizes moral and ethical stability and permanence. Religious adherence to absolute truth. Christians may believe that the teachings of the Bible are universal truths that should not change with cultural or personal preferences. This attitude of insisting on absolute truth is a direct response to the pluralistic truth view of postmodern relativism.
Ideology will also face challenges in some respects. For example, challenges faced by social ideology. Constant changes in society can lead to ideological obsolescence. Ideologies can have difficulty adapting to changing social norms, values, and demographics. As society advances, what was once widely accepted may become outdated or irrelevant. Ideological movements face challenges from within, and existing power structures resist ideological changes that threaten their dominance. Those in power may use their influence to suppress alternative ideologies that pose a threat to their authority. About politics, ideology is often used by political forces to gain power or control people's minds. Existing political institutions and vested interests resist ideological changes that threaten their power or privileges. This opposition can take the form of political manipulation, legislative obstruction, or even repression of ideological supporters. Political movements advocating for social justice, equality, or human rights can challenge ideologies that perpetuate discrimination, inequality, or oppression. An ideological movement that is underrepresented in mainstream politics, making it difficult to advance its agenda. Limited access to political representation can hinder the ability to influence policy decisions and shape public discourse. Technical aspects. Emerging technologies may pose new ideological challenges in terms of ethics, morals, and social structures. Technological innovations can challenge traditional ideologies by changing the way people interact, work, and communicate. Technological innovation can disrupt traditional industries and economic systems and challenge ideological beliefs about the role of government, markets, and regulation. Ideologies centered on maintaining the status quo or protecting certain industries may face resistance in the face of technological change. Technologies such as social media and online communication platforms have reshaped the way people interact and form communities, challenging traditional social structures and identities. Ideologies based on ideas of fixed identity or social hierarchy may face resistance in the face of technological advances that promote mobility and diversity. Facing economic challenges, Economic interests often give rise to ideological conflicts. Powerful economic actors may oppose ideologies that advocate wealth redistribution or challenge corporate interests, leading to opposition and marginalization. Some ideologies may place more emphasis on economic growth, while others place more emphasis on sustainability and environmental protection.
Ideology, as the crystallization of human thinking, constitutes our comprehensive understanding of the world, society, and values. It encompasses the diverse concepts, beliefs, theories, and traditions that shape an individual's worldview and interpretation of society. Political, religious, and philosophical ideologies each represent unique beliefs and values, which profoundly affect an individual's stance and behavior on basic issues such as politics, religion, survival, knowledge, and morality. Since its birth in the 19th century, ideology has been subtly influencing the development process of society and shaping the landscape of culture, society, and politics. Postmodernism challenges the traditional view of truth and morality. It emphasizes the relativity of culture and individuals and questions the authority of science and technology as a tool of control. In literature and art, postmodernism contributed to the rise of satire and parody. Thinkers such as Michel Foucault, Thomas Kuhn, and Jacques Derrida breathed new life into this current of thought. Compared with modernism, postmodernism provides us with a more fragmented and diversified worldview, which challenges the existence of absolute authority. Ideology faces many challenges in the postmodern era, including adapting to social changes, political manipulation, technological innovation, and economic changes. Relativism, especially postmodern relativism, further highlights the impact of language and power on truth and values. Faced with the challenge of postmodern relativism, traditional and religious responses emphasize the absoluteness of morality and the firmness of faith. These responders tend to prioritize transcendent truths and universal values and reject cultural relativism. Their criticism focused on its tendency to promote individualism and moral confusion. Taking Christianity as an example, it adheres to absolute truth and traditional moral education, emphasizing the importance of authority, tradition, and stability in maintaining moral norms and social values.